transformation projects, and then getting down into very specific numbers on how AI has affected revenue, CSAT, OPEX, employee efficiency, and then even supervisor time for quality management and coaching will be another area that we look at. We calculate all the averages across each one of these metrics that we gather, and anybody who was at or above average in any one of these metrics, we just sort of flag their record success, or if they were below average non-success, and then in the very end, if they had at least 4, it was 3.3 was the average we need to do, so we round up. At least 4 of those, all those metrics that I've talked about.
Let me just finish up here. I think it is full screen now.
In the overall success group for the
I'm just putting in my notes here.
Is in the non-success group. So what you can do
nothing.
is you can
talking heads. You know what I mean?
What companies that are showing the highest.
I'm putting in I'm documenting. Okay.
Technology. What are they doing compared to other companies? And it really kind of gives you a roadmap.
I'm recording with,
what you need to do to be successful.
Emerson
so
Recorder.
I'll be talking about that as we go along.
They also.
Okay. So let me start just kind of high level looking at customer service and what people are thinking these days. We asked the ITCX and business leaders, though both are important, which is most important to delivering successful customer interactions, people or technology? And you can see that about 72% said people. And even when we asked consumers that same question, about 78% said people. So yeah, that's what's most important, right? Now, look over at the slide, at the chart to the right, the bar chart. This compares our success group and our non-success group. And what was fascinating to me is when I looked at the success group, which is those bars in purple, they're approaching a 50-50 of people and technology. And when I interviewed some of them, they basically said, you know what, we're using technology so effectively and so efficiently right now that it's making our people way more way better, way more successful than they ever used to be. So for us now, the technology has actually become more important than the people, because without it, our people wouldn't be so good. And when we ask them, well, okay, great, in which ways has technology done this? How has it improved this customer service? The number one way is better use of technology. And look, that little star there indicates that our research success group, better use of AI, our research success group uses those items significantly more than the non-success group. So the two that they're using a lot more than the non-success group are better use of AI and better voice of the customer programs. We see that pairing a lot in our research. So we're going to use a variety of types of AI, but we're also going to use a voice of the customer program to measure how successful that is. That said, we also see more than half of companies overall selecting more proactive outreach to customers. So really, not sitting there and being reactive, not waiting for calls to come in, but being much more proactive. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we mean by that throughout the rest of this presentation today. So when we look at proactive outreach, most companies are doing this in some way, shape, or form. If you just ask a company, hey, do you reach out to customers proactively for things like reminders and order confirmations and all that kind of, even upsell, that gets a little bit more complex, which we'll get into in a minute. But almost 60% are doing it today. That's where our research success group is as well. You've got a lot planning, and this is planning for 2024 because this was from the data that I talked about, the study that we completed in September. So, we had a lot of companies saying, yeah, we're really bullish here on proactive. But when you think about proactive, if you start adding AI into this, it gets even better and it gets even more effective and it adds more value. So we're going to talk through that. But first, I want to, kind of dive into a little bit more detail on what we really mean by proactive. So there's a few different areas we look at. First, for agents, that you can suggest next steps for them to solve a problem or upsell. Upsell is a huge area. The whole idea of using agent assist or co-pilot to help an agent bring revenue into the company, I mean, everyone's loving this. This is a big area of growth right now. Providing context, so you can personalize an interaction. Coaching them to just improve the interaction outcome, but doing that in real time. Not like an after-call training method. Guidance that doesn't require any inputs at all. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that, Elizabeth. I think that NICE is really doing a great job with that, where I don't have to type in a question as an agent. AI is kind of, it knows what I want, right?
Yeah, Copilot for agents, this is one of the crowning features of it, and our customers are really loving it because that Copilot is sitting at all times. So it can suggest whether it's a snippet to respond, so you no longer have to type or look it up yourself, or a knowledge article, or even raising its hand and saying, offload this to a process assistant so you can breathe for a moment or go focus on something else. But not having to ask and have a prompt, which again still adds to the cognitive load, is a real game changer for agents.
Yeah, definitely. And where we see a big value there, again, I really like the whole use case of sales, but having AI jump in and tell me, here's your sales pitch. I don't even have to think about it, you know? And I love that as an agent to be able to do that. Supervisors, there's a whole nother series of, actions that AI can take to help supervisors. Displaying real-time sentiment for each interaction underway, I think, is really valuable. I would hate that as an agent to just like watch a line chart of my customer satisfaction, because that would be distracting to me. But as a supervisor, if I can look at all my agents, see if anyone's going really off, and maybe I need to jump into that call and help.
Ask him a question.
That's a kind of a game changer as well. Issuing alerts. If scheduling or forecasting is insufficient, so as the business
That's
needs
the only
change,
reason. That's
AI
one
can
reason I'm here.
predict, hey, you might need 3 more people on schedule the first of every month that have this type of certification, say in a financial services company or in an investment company, because we've been getting a lot more calls here and hold times are getting too high. So just things like that are so valuable. Providing names of at-risk customers that need outreach is another one as well. We're starting to see more and more utilization of supervisors, because they're saving time in other areas, using them to actually reach out to customers that are at risk for leaving and reducing customer churn rates. That's a really great use of the skill set and the knowledge that supervisors have. And then customers, so if I'm a customer, I might be able to use AI to make suggestions for purchases. Again, that's sales use case. Sending the appointment reminders, yes, we've been doing that for a while just through CSAT, and just, we don't even need AI for that necessarily. But when you want to also enable rescheduling and make sure that rescheduling is meeting certain like policies, or maybe some changes happening in a company or a healthcare setting, that's a big value for customers, so they don't have to wait on hold, or a lot of times you call a doctor's office if you're looking at healthcare and they don't answer, those types of things. Delivery notifications, yep, we've been doing that with CPAS for a while, but now with AI, the ability potentially to make changes to that delivery. If it's within a certain time, maybe I want to change the address of that delivery or change the date because I know I'm not going to be home on that day. But things like that you can do, and then even just preempt interactions that AI predicts are going to happen at some point. I know that this customer calls in on the 10th of every month because they reorder some new vitamins or something like that. If I know that's going to happen, I can preemptively reach out to them over SMS and maybe give them a discount code or something like that, so that
Thank you.
I've now made their lives a little easier. They don't have to remember to call in and multiple them with a discount.
What?
And it helps us because we've saved some money as a company by not having to have a live agent.
Are you turned on though?
For businesses as well, just
okay,
from an operational standpoint, alerting the appropriate teams, or even like creating a script or automating a new workflow when there's a trend that's emerging. Maybe we need to change a workflow because, let's say, a lot of people are claiming a warranty on a particular product, and boy, this is taking a lot of agent time. Can we quickly spin up an automated AI agent to handle these warranty claims? Because everything
what they have here.
Okay, well, we ask the same set of questions. We ask them to go to fill out a
they do a good job. Nice. They give you some
why don't we automate this?
And what they try to
we can
do
review
is
and
they
summarize
pay
customer
but they
reviews.
pay her.
That's useful in a lot of different areas.
She's the
provide
expert.
operational data
they pay her
that
to
affects
do
things like maybe staffing,
study
maybe revenue. If I'm in the C-suite, I can see that there's some operational data that's indicating that maybe we'll have a better quarter than we thought, or not as good a quarter as we thought. I can pivot and make some changes to maybe either leverage the results or help make the results better. And even things like CSAT. And like I said, just overall workflow automation, I think, is a big thing that we can do for businesses when we look at AI in general.
She develops technology strategies and analyzing how they can transform their business.
You just covered many different examples here, but I do want to call out one of our success stories here. And this is really, I would say, both from the agent and
she's
the
VP of marketing.
But we have been working with Sony, and they implemented CX1 Empower Autopilot, and they saw phenomenal results. And the thing about this that I really want to note is that this also happened very fast. They saw these results, they saw this implementation take off and see record containment within a couple months of deployment, which I think is really important to note because this technology is evolving and changing so fast that you need to be able to have a really clear way of deploying, measuring success, and then moving on and expanding. And that did happen. They saw customer satisfaction increase, containment increase. They are expanding to new use cases. They're looking to take on more of this technology and bring AI more into their workflow. And again, automating 40% of customer inquiries is pretty huge. And I think it's important to note here that it's not just the automation, but it's the effective automation. So partnering that with containment, ensuring that in a conversational way we can understand, move through all of the systems, no matter how complex, and actually execute that customer's need, whether it's a question, whether it's a complicated process, and actually get to that end result of resolving that need is important. And we can see here there's a lot of different metrics. They have more feedback because more customers are giving feedback. It's more positive. And again, it's going through all of the channels of customers' choice. So being able to have this proactive automation that can effectively resolve needs is pretty huge for both the efficiency of employees, taking off that load for customers, helping them get things done. And again, it helps the bottom line and the objectives of the business.
So they're obviously, they still have their live agents as well. Are they also using Copilot for their live agents to help them out, or are they at this point just focusing in more on the automated resolutions?
Yeah, for this use case, we were only thinking about and focusing on autopilot, but again, with many of our customers, and sometimes folks come in starting with a Copilot or starting with autopilot, we see them expanding. We have a number of deals with that both ways that expand to the other. One of the things I definitely do recommend is to have a very targeted use case and success metric to begin with. So in this case, I'm assuming most folks who are talking now are looking to automate something like autopilot for this kind of implementation. Nail that, and that will also help you understand where you need to go. And the next step for folks is usually implementing Copilot because they see the value of autopilot, and then they say, I want to bring in the
So
same
she's an
technology
English
to help all of my
major
agents.
in
But yes,
creative
persona.
writing.
They're not
You
replacing
understand?
their agents with
They
this.
put
It's
their
sort of a
head
yes
of
and.
marketing.
Yeah,
So she can write for the Israelis. Is that basically? And creative writing is good too.
And you think of a company the size of Sony, and they could so easily fall into a trap that we see a lot of companies falling into, which is they try and boil the ocean. They're doing too much at once, you know?
what I mean?
And in some of our research,
Like
we
her
see
to
that
be
when
a
these companies
speaker.
try and
You know
boil
what I
the ocean,
mean?
they don't see the success metrics that you're showing here on the slide. You know, it's just not working well. They're just doing too much. So I think it makes sense to have these targeted use cases, show success, and move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and you do kind of that snowball effect. And then over time, all of a sudden, you've got a ton of use cases, and you've built it up properly rather than trying to do everything all at once, you know? Okay. So when we look at, you know, proactive outreach, we ask those, you know, roughly 60% of companies that were already using proactive, how are they doing it? And you can see of the 60%, about 59% were still doing manual outreach from humans. And I think that will continue. I think you're always going to need to have some manual outreach from humans, especially when you're talking about things like sales or trying to reduce churn and talking to, you know, at-risk customers. Like there's no replacement in some cases for that human touch. But you still also see 48% of companies also using like a rules-based automation, non-AI. So we've been doing that for a number of years. But look at the number already using dynamic and automated AI-powered proactive you know, outreach and functions, 47%. So that's a pretty good number. We see our research success group, you know, highly correlated with the dynamic AI-powered outreach. Now, on the left side, you'll see all these different use cases for proactive, and some of them are pretty mundane, you know, like appointment reminders and shipping notifications. But where we really see AI coming in is in like upsell and cross-sell, you know, making suggestions that are aligned with customer preferences. So we've seen companies do things like, you know, like let's put together a list of customers that would be really good prospects for a new product that we have, a new warranty, a new service. And then AI can either open that, you know, like kind of qualify that lead and then turn it over to a human, or in some cases it's pretty basic at this point. It's going to improve as time goes on, but for this point, they can, we've seen use cases where AI is opening and closing a sale.
That's all.
No human
That's what I
involvement
did
at
with
all.
the
It's very
Israelis.
proactive.
Rather than
We're
waiting
out,
for
we're letting you
them,
know you
I
have
said,
something available, or
as you
your
requested,
subscription's
here's
about
my
to expire, would
address.
you like to
I
review
put
it?
it as you
Things
requested.
like that you with AI, and I think even
When
more
I asked, I said,
as
you
time
got
goes
in
on,
the
we'll see a
show,
lot
I
of
said,
voice
what?
AI agents, not just the textual AI agents. The voice AI agents are getting so much better so quickly. I think primarily driven by generative AI. Would you agree? I mean, I think that's what you guys are probably seeing as well, Elizabeth.
Before anything else, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and we can
Don't ask too
probably
many
move on and
questions, you know what I
elegantly
mean?
be able to talk about this next piece, because when you think about a true proactive AI agent, you want something that can understand and discern based on the data and behaviors of customers when you need to reach out, probably before the customer even knows. So this is a great example from a financial services leader that was able to increase personal loan rates, those booking rates. So as you're saying, it's not just about solving and deflecting problems, but also helping with applications, with actually effectively being able to finish this process. And these conversations followed along in natural language. And this meant that the conversation could be dynamic over time. So even if this time period was asynchronous and over weeks or days, we could still be able to communicate and understand and remember that context so that customers can apply, go through all of the processes, maybe their questions or complexities, and then finish it off, all within the proactive AI agent. And so again, this helps with callbacks, this helps with scheduling, this helps with revenue. It's a pretty huge piece. And again, 8% decrease in sales cycle by using this is again very effective in terms of being able to help the business, increasing that rate, and also increasing the amount of appointments booked, which is also very, very helpful.
You know what I mean?
So this is really seen with our, and this is our proactive AI agent.
I put
it's our
seminar
proactive AI agent.
series.
And the important thing here is it can be voice or text, and it is always reaching out before any of these customers are saying, I need help. So they're being predictive and they are truly being proactive there. So you're reaching a whole host of new folks that otherwise probably wouldn't be accessible to you.
Yeah, these success metrics on the bottom of the slide are pretty darn compelling. 90% appointments booked is, I mean, that's a whole new, a whole new way to generate leads for a company like this. I mean, pretty incredible for sure.
Turn off what?
When we look at the proactive outreach, remember we talked about that success group and how I told you the success correlation was there. I mean, look at the last cluster bars. The purple again is the success group. The blue is a non-success group. And look at that gap between how much more the successful companies are using AI than the non-success companies. What we typically see in research historically is that when you see gaps like this, it's basically a leading indicator. It's telling us that dynamic and automated AI-powered utilization is going to go up for everybody moving forward because they see that gap, and successful companies are obviously driving success because of the use of technology that they're using, and this is one of the big ones. This is a huge success correlation from our research. And then what we also see is that companies do, or CX leaders, I should say, are thinking that their service is going to shift from mostly inbound to mostly proactive outreach sometime within, let's say, the next 3 years. If you look at just that first row within the first year, 32% of companies overall are expecting to see that. And when we look at our research success group, 50% of them think it's going to happen within the year. So by fall of next year, their contact centers are going to be more proactive than reactive than that inbound. And then you've got even more companies saying within 1 to 3 years, some after 3 years, but overwhelmingly the majority are saying, we see AI as enabling us to be more proactive in all kinds of ways, whether it's those, okay, let's confirm an appointment and let you change it if you need to, or let's confirm a shipping and let you change that if you need to what Elizabeth just described, the company being able to go out and actually qualify leads proactively and do those sales activities rather than waiting for someone to call into the contact center and say, hey, I think I might need a loan. So, I think there's going to be a big shift moving forward in the contact center as to what we're doing and how we're behaving and who's doing the action. Is it going to be a live agent? Is it going to be an AI agent? It's going to be a combination of both, but I think that we're going to see a lot more working hand in hand and more, virtual agents moving forward. I really, we see that in all our research. Okay, so what kind of drivers do we see? What kind of benefits do we see? We did ask organizations what's driving their company's proactive outreach strategy. You can see overwhelmingly they're doing this because they want to improve customer satisfaction. That is like number one across all companies. Now, when we look at just our research success group and where is that bigger gap between successful companies and unsuccessful companies, it's automation We want to automate more communications. This is going to help us in a variety of ways. It's going to help us do things like generate more leads, make more sales, serve customers more quickly, but it's also going to reduce some costs for us internally. To automate more, automation is certainly going to be less expensive than having a live agent do it. And then also reminding customers of upcoming events or appointments, that's a big driver for organizations. And I think that those reminders, again, are becoming a little bit more feature rich. I talked to one healthcare company that was not only doing a reminder, but also giving that customer a link to their medical record if they want to double check on something. Within that medical record, there was a summary of what that appointment was about, anything they needed to do to prepare for the appointment, like did they need to make sure they had a blood test done before they went? Did they need to read up on something because they were going to talk about a condition? So I thought that was another really interesting use case, and that was really dynamic depending upon what was going on with every patient. And then, just helping them plan, saving money, and then reducing that inbound traffic as well. Reduce inbound traffic, you can certainly save some money there. Now, the top benefits that we saw through proactive outreach, number one, this is a percentage of companies who said these were benefits that they saw. Number one was improving that customer satisfaction. So it was good that their goal was actually being achieved. They were seeing some improvement. Improving agent efficiency and generating revenue. There's where we see our success group, correlation gaps there. And then reducing costs. So, we are seeing some really good, real hardcore measurable benefits. I think we saw some good examples of that already with the slides that Elizabeth showed that are of actual customers and what they're seeing. Now, we also see impacts on agents and supervisors and customers as well. So when we look at what ways AI is helping agents, let's look at agents directly. So this is kind of in the nice world, and it's a generic term, but it's also a proper term, co-pilot. So basically, how are we using it? Number one answer there, agent assist, co-pilot is helping agents to become more efficient. It's number one. All the rest of them are kind of grouped together. So virtual agents being able to handle inquiries in place of agents. We see the success group correlation there, as well as with transcription, reducing after call time needed. By the way, the overall reduction of after call time needed is about 35%. I think that's going to keep going up as transcription and summarization gets better and better. Training or retraining agents on areas of deficiency. Those are kind of three ways we see AI helping agents within our success group correlations. But we also see it helping them meet sales quotas and service KPIs, which I think agents really like. We see that correlated pretty high with reducing turnover. So if I'm a customer service agent, by the way, 54% of companies have sales quotas attached to their service agents. Some service agents may say, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. I don't want to be selling. But if I have AI, helping out, then, I can do this, and I can maybe even make some commissions in the process. And that's been, very appealing to a lot of agents. So, we're seeing some good, effect there. And one point, and I love this point these days because I was speaking about it just last week at NICE actually, and we were talking about how average handle time doesn't always decrease with agent assist. And for as long as I've been doing this research, we always see average handle time decreasing, right? So what's happening here? What's changing? Why do we see 37% and the success group saying, you know what, actually our average handle time is going up with agent assist, and we are totally cool with that? Well, if it used to take you 12 minutes, let's say, to solve a specific type of problem for a customer, and now you put in agent assist or co-pilot, right? Now that 12 minutes, maybe it's dropped down to about 7. On average, we see about just under a 30% savings on average across the board. So now, what do companies do with that extra 5 minutes they had on that call? They had the agent get on the next call, the next call, the next call, and they became more efficient with the calls they were handling, but they also got more burnt out. We also saw more idle time if the company's overall volume into the contact center wasn't going up. So then we started seeing some companies lay off agents, and CX leaders were like, wait a minute, we don't want to lay people off, we need these people. So what should we be doing instead? And to their credit, they very quickly pivoted and said, okay, instead of that extra 5 minutes, you hurry up and get on to your next call, let's do a sales pitch. Let's do an upsell, cross-sell. So now that same call might take 12, 13, 14, and 15 minutes. Nobody cares, because in that scenario, you've solved the problem, the customer's happy, and they bought something. So if you can take Copilot and use it in that manner, would you care if your average handle time went up? I mean, are you seeing that, Elizabeth? Are you seeing it with customers now? Because we're definitely seeing it in research.
And again, I think one of the things here is if you want to decrease average handle time for specific things or make specific areas go away, again, very routine calls that have to happen because there's no other option, we do want to see those be eliminated. But on average, when you're looking at average handle time, this is not a bad indicator. And I think that is one of the things that we counsel folks as they're implementing AI is to rethink what a success metric looks like, because again, it might not be eliminating headcount, but it might be retraining and reallocating that headcount into a job that maybe did never exist before. And those are still success metrics because you're hopefully being able to do more, be more proactive, think about more strategic things for your business, and all of these sort of areas are incredible. Even for my own working tools with my team, we transcribe almost every meeting, and almost every meeting has someone on it from Teams because we're global. In terms of recall and efficiency and even accessibility for some of my employees who maybe process better by reading or have trouble listening to meetings, which are on a meeting like this, it's incredible in terms of efficiency and memory recall and all of those different metrics. So you really have to expand what you're thinking about when you have these technologies.
Yeah, I love what you said about like just kind of rethinking what makes a success metric, because I think average handle time is one of those that I don't think we're going to be looking at the same as we used to. You're right. If you're looking at like for like, it's just a mundane thing that we have to do. Yes, you will reduce average handle time there for sure. But if you can use this technology in a way that's going to improve the relationship, why not, right? I mean, that's really what we want to see. Yep. All right. So let's move on. When we look at onboarding, what we see there, when companies use AI to provide these repetitive training sprints in the first few months of employment, this can accelerate onboarding. So this is really a key indicator for us when we look at success. So about 50% of companies right now are doing this. The average number of days to fully onboard an agent, on average, it's about 17. But if you're going to start using these repetitive training sprints, you don't have to have this long of training time. And by the way, the range is crazy. It's like 1 day up to a full year, even to train an agent. But if you can say, all right, we're going to train you on most things, but not everything. We just want to get you working right away, so you can start helping us solve customer problems or start helping us sell. You can reduce that time on average from about 20 days to about 15 days, so about 25%. And I think that that's really key. As we look at what AI can do to help you with onboarding and help get those agents up and running more quickly. Now, if I started soon, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I feel fully trained yet. I have Agent Assist, I have Copilot to kind of help walk me through if I'm struggling. I have it to, kind of help train me, like, okay, a quick 5-minute training sprint right after this call. Here's a couple things that you might want to work on that you have had a problem with, and we get that done. So I think it's really cool. Okay. The other thing that we see when we look at Copilot and Agent Assist is also Supervisor Assist. So agents are not the only ones taking advantage of this technology. Right now, when we look at how contact center supervisors are using AI, they're using it to help them with quality management, with scheduling and capacity planning, with coaching and training. Those are the 3 big areas. And when we look at what kind of metrics they're seeing, for quality management, 3 hours per week per supervisor being saved by using AI to do things like listen in on calls and analyze those calls, provide reports, summarizations, classifications, highlight areas that need coaching. We see them saving 2 hours per week per supervisor for scheduling, forecasting, capacity planning, that type of thing. Less manual functions there. I think over time that's going to get even greater because I think AI is going to learn more about just companies' seasonal changes and what's going on. Where do they need people? Where do they need people? Where do they need agents? AI agents. I don't know how you would do that effectively and efficiently manually anymore. I feel like you've got to have tools to help you and tools that are really insightful, that are looking at historical trends and predicting future trends and being able to say, okay, given what we think is going to happen, you need this many live agents with these skill sets, and you need this many AI, agent licenses with these skill sets, and we can go on from there. And as we talk about agentics and having agents, AI agents working with other sub agents and so on, that becomes even more complex. So you have to use that for scheduling. And then the big one is coaching and training. So it goes hand in hand with quality management. So if I have AI listening in on my, my team's phone calls and, coming up with new, reports for me. And I think, by the way, the QM statements will get greater too. You still see agents, the supervisors wanting to listen for themselves. They're kind of somewhat relying on AI, but not 100%. I think then you have AI proactively, another way of proactive, right? Proactively reaching out to the agents and basically saying, let's do a coaching session. Reaching out proactively to their calendars, scheduling time on their calendars to do a 1-hour session because there's a really big issue we need to address. And you may or may not need the supervisor in there, but increasingly we see the supervisor saying, we don't need to do as much training as we used to. Maybe a little bit of coaching, maybe some things that AI isn't as good at. Maybe some of those empathetic type coaching sessions, but we're really seeing huge numbers there. I mean, I don't know, Elizabeth, these numbers surprise me, especially the coaching one, when you look at how much time supervisors can save with AI.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that we should think of this as offloading of work, but sending it to someone who is specialized. If you can build training that is more proactive and more targeted and on demand for the agents, that's incredible. I think when you think about this, you're really trying to change a supervisor from being historically a firefighter into a strategist. And that's what I see when I see these numbers. Yeah. Again, they're always saying, this has gone wrong. How do I fix or how do I save? And now you can say, how do I make things better? How do I reward those who are excelling? How can I help uplift those who maybe are struggling? And really dig into those pieces. And they didn't have the time and the focus to do that before.
Yeah, that's a great point. Who doesn't want that in their job to be proactive, not reactive? I mean, I love it. That's a good way to look at it. Okay, so when we look at what a lot of people still call AI bots, I'm moving away from that term personally to more AI agents, because I think when consumers think about bots, even if you put the word AI in front of them, they're still thinking of those V1 bots that are like, hi, how can I help you today? And you have a selection of 4. Pick one of these 4, and then it's none of those 4.
And none of them work.
Yeah, they don't work, right? So when we ask consumers, this is in our consumer-based research, what do they think about companies using AI-powered bots for customer service? What do they think about them? 39% only use them in select circumstances. About the same avoid them completely. And then you've got only about just under 12% saying that they prefer bots. Some say they're just not sure and it's not applicable. So I think that they're getting generative AI is making. I kind of look at it as like it's transforming bots into truly virtual AI agents. And with that shift, we are seeing some improvements. I think that's going to take a little while for consumers to give them another chance almost, because we had a while where there were problems. Why were they avoiding them? Well, they got stuck in a loop. They couldn't escalate. That's so frustrating when you've had that happen. I need someone, I can't get to it. It doesn't understand what I'm asking for. It doesn't have the answers that I need. That tells me it wasn't trained properly, or maybe it was misapplied to the wrong issue. It's taking too much time. Bad design. It's difficult to use. Bad design. So you have all these things that are fixable for sure. Why do they use bots? Number one reason, this is in order, by the way, of importance. Number one reason is it saves me time. So time is important. In all different ways we look at data, time is important. It's convenient for me at the time. It answers my questions. So great, it's working, it's actually trained, it's solving my problem, it knows what I'm saying. The last one is kind of interesting. And that's about 18% of consumers say that they're more polite than humans. So I've had this discussion a lot with people where it's like, okay, well, humans, you hope that they're showing empathy, but sometimes we are all humans. So sometimes if you had a day, people just yelling at you, it's kind of hard to always keep that smile on your face as an agent, always stay polite and friendly. Sometimes you're not, and that is an issue. And that's why we're seeing companies give agents more breaks now. On average, 2 more 15-minute breaks per 8-hour shift is what we're seeing companies do right now, because they need to kind of reset. That said, when you get to the AI agents, they can it's almost like they're faking empathy, right? That if I'm on with either a text or a voice virtual AI agent, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry your experience is," I'm like, "You're not though. You're you're a machine. You know what I mean? So like sometimes you think, well, they can be empathetic, but is it real empathy? So I think that's sometimes the reason why, like as we talk to some of the consumers in our research, that they want to go to a live agent because they know what, I want to complain, and I really do want to feel someone be empathetic and not, just kind of, this is what I'm programmed, to say.
Exactly.
Okay, so we do though see virtual agents kind of making their mark. We asked organizations if their supervisors consider virtual agents, whether they're a voice or chat, to be part of their contact center workforce when they're doing their scheduling and forecasting and capacity planning. About a little over a third are doing that already. That's where our research success correlation is as well. Another 30% plan to do that in the future. So overwhelming majority are going to, this is our group, these are our agents. We're not just looking at people anymore. We're looking at the virtual agents as well. And when we ask what percentage of the company's total workforce, like whether they're sales or service, are going to be AI-powered virtual agents by the end of this year, average is about 31%. And when we ask correlated by success group is way more bullish on this. They're almost up to 40%. Non-success group struggling behind at about 23%. So these numbers overall look pretty aggressive in my opinion. Like, will the success group really get to basically the equivalent of 40% of their agents? So that much being handled by the virtual agents. I mean, I guess in your Sony use case, they were getting pretty close to that or at that. So I mean, maybe it is going to happen with those leading companies. Now keep that in mind. Of a study of almost 600 companies, it's about 200 companies are in that success group. So will that really happen? I don't know. It's aggressive, but we do see definitely trending in that direction. Well, why is that? Look at the improvement that companies say these virtual agents have shown just in the past year. And I truly believe this is because of generative AI and large language models. We have, this chart shows the blue it's gotten better, green it's gotten worse, orange is no change. Overwhelmingly, companies say that their virtual agents have gotten better in terms of speed of answers, accuracy of answers, and the ability to fully automate those interactions. So, pretty impressive results there.
Yeah, and I would also say with this one, that idea of fully automating the interactions, LLMs have unlocked our ability to actually understand and respond, but that correlation to being able to actually automate, I think that's the moment that's going to allow us to have that 40% be a virtual agent. And I also agree. I think that companies who treat human and AI agents as both valuable sources of their workforce will succeed more rather than just thinking of virtual agents just as bot technology you deploy.
Right, and it is kind of a shift. It's a shift in the way of thinking, and I think it's something that we need to really educate the market on, that there is a shift going on here, and I can back that up, all different ways in my consumer research, because consumers, they aren't nuts about chatbots, but when we start explaining things a little differently, and you know that you've got some consumers who've had experiences with generative AI agents, it's gone to that next level. Their ratings of them are a lot higher than the traditional V1 chatbots.
Yes.
Okay. So I always thought this is kind of interesting. We asked organizations, like, what are the biggest advantages to using these virtual agents over live agents? And the number one cited reason in also our success group correlation is they have knowledge of every interaction at the company. Or the potential for it. I mean, not every company has it set up this way, but they have the potential to really pull from all that knowledge, whereas an agent only has their own view and their own day and their own week. They're less expensive. They don't have any emotion to get angry with customers like we were just talking about, and they don't require breaks. So I was talking about how these human agents just are requiring more breaks now because they don't spend any of their time answering the overnight mailing address questions. They're spending their time really addressing more complex issues and a lot of gear shifting throughout the day, so they need some breaks more than they used to get. Okay, so just to wrap up a few thoughts here, I think it's important to evaluate how your company can adopt this sort of proactive model in the various ways we've been talking about it. You can look at it for agents, for supervisors, for customers, and then also for business operations. And I think a good question to ask internally is, where can you be implementing AI to move the needle, like to really move your business success metrics in the right direction? And that business success metric can be whatever is important to your company. Is it revenue? Is it turnover rate? Is it costs? Is it CSAT? It could be all different things, but whatever your metrics are, where can AI help? And by the way, one of the things as an aside that I always talk about when I speak is one of the most important decisions you can make these days is who is your technology partner? Because the pace of innovation is moving so quickly right now that I think it's almost impossible for your traditional like IT and technology buying model to continue to succeed in the future. I think you have to be a lot more reliant on your technology partners to help you to kind of partner with you to help you to decide, okay, where can we be using AI? How is this going to be helping us? How is this not going to be helping us? And so on. So I think that's a really important decision to make. Companies are moving quickly, and they do see proactive outreach, like I mentioned, at some point outpacing the inbound traffic. So I think that given that, you want to make sure you're looking at your own contact center. Make sure that you're either creating a new or maintaining an existing competitive advantage there. You don't want your competitors to be doing more than you're doing in the space, because that will be pretty obvious to your customer base. And then I just think it's important to establish more detailed strategy around proactive. So there's a lot of different areas you can look at. You can look at agent assist or co-pilot, AI agents or full automation. Quality management is a big one, in coaching and training. So those are some areas that are really important to get started on. I wouldn't do every single one of them all at once and try and boil the ocean, but definitely come up with a nice roadmap where you're, maybe running some, swim lanes there, but you have a good roadmap where you're going to be looking at this technology.
And I think before we roll into questions, I think, when you said talking about your technology partner, I will make the pitch as to why I think NICE is a very good partner and educator and even AI influencer that can help you here. So one of the amazing things that we did late last year was we introduced CX1 Empower, which embeds Enlighten AI, our proprietary AI that's built off of CX historical interactions and data. And we created that with partner companies. We've been doing this for many, many, many years. And we embedded that into our full platform, but that really has expanded our reach and has been able to break down silos across the entire organization to help automate customer service. And this means that, yes, we have co-pilots that can help with agents, supervisors, and leaders. We have AI agents that work for a host of different use cases and capabilities that go even outside the contact center to success, to sales, to marketing, to operations. And we are able to orchestrate all of those interactions and be able to automate even complex workflows so that you can design, build, and operate, as you can see here, a huge plethora of different customer-facing interactions that are important to every aspect of your organization. And so I think this is really important to think about here because you want a partner who can move with speed and can be agile to help match that use case and that need to the right solution, technology, whatever you're talking about, and isn't just talking about a single product and trying to sell that one to you. And I think this is one of the reasons why even with those success stories with that financial leader or with Sony is talking about a single pain point and a single solution that then expands out because our platform is able to support all of those different use cases, but we can focus on that one specific need. So again, if your pain point is quality management, yes, there's a solution for that. If what you are looking for is to be able to deal with a exploding inbound customer interaction piece because your business is growing, or even being more proactive to figure out how to deflect problems, CX1 Empower is really the platform to be able to support you there. And we have embedded and infused AI throughout every aspect of it, which also means that we know you have other technologies, we know you have other APIs, other integrations, and all of those are really easy to connect and get up and running. So you can automate all of those workflows effectively across your tech stack without having anything be a blocker or a wall that stops being able to fully fulfill and fully automate to success, whatever that means for your business, for your agents, for your customers. So there are a couple questions and I want to be mindful we're running up against time. So I do want to say a couple things here. First, thank you, Robin. That was incredible and a ton of information in a short amount of time. If you haven't submitted questions, now is a great time. But before we move on, please do answer that 3-question survey. We appreciate your feedback. It helps us improve future sessions. And while you're filling that out, I am going to give a pitch for our next NICE talk, which is on the next slide that will be coming up for you. It is going to also be with Robin and me. It's on February 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it is going to be about how AI can advance your proactive strategy with measurable improvements. And so we're going to be talking about use cases and more there. So definitely click on register now or scan the QR code to be able to reserve your spot, and we look forward to talking to you then. Robin and I were already gabbing about the content that we're going to be bringing in there, so it's a really good, I would say, second chapter to this session. So let's move on into some of the Q&A. I'm going to start with a question that came right at the top because we didn't cover it. I'm going to take a swing at this, Robin, and then you can bring in the experience from all of the other folks you've talked to. So how does the data we enter stay proprietary to our company and not get into the shared AI universe? I feel like we can have a whole session on this. So I will say, for the NICE perspective, as I said, we work with leading brands to help us build our AI, and all of that has the strongest data protection, the cleaning, the anonymization, in partnership with these partner brands. So all of that, even as we are building these models, the anonymization and the protections there is really important for the effectiveness of the models, as well as to think about the companies and their information in specific. And in terms of then when you are deploying these models, when you are working with it, you do want to work with a brand who can answer this question and be able to say that yes, it will stay within the walled garden of your organization, and it will not be used in any way to train future models, to build future models, unless of course you've opted in and you are doing that with your partner. And that if you are doing that with your partner, that again, you understand how it is being sanitized and cleaned and anonymized and protected to protect your customers and any of your proprietary details. So that is something that is built into absolutely everything we do at every level, from our models through every AI solution, to ensure that it stays specific to the brand. Because even if we're talking about two retail partners, how they want to show up and use this AI and have it actually express their brand to the world is really unique to them. So that's something that is built in. And of course, as I said, we could go into great detail on how we actually do that. But if someone confidently can't explain that to you and your sales team and the technology you're talking to, definitely something that you should pause and think about. Robin, I don't know how this has been coming up in your research.
You I think explained everything really well. I will say though that it is one of the top, if not, depending on the study, like the top concerns among both consumers and businesses. So what is the data privacy policy? So I think you've explained it very well. I don't think there's anything more I can add. I think it's exactly what companies need to do. Ask about this, make sure. Yeah.
Another good one, the occasional headline that hopefully is getting more and more occasional, of a company that poorly implements an AI agent. I feel like this happened a lot more in the early days of the ChatGPT excitement, where they return off-topic replies. Lessons learned to avoid this. For us, we say knowledge and data, and this is actually the bedrock of CXone Mpower, is we are automating workflows, we are empowering agents, and we are using knowledge at the core of that. So again, whether that is all of the knowledge and all of the data across your platform, be it your knowledge base itself or any of the other artifacts out there, that should be forming the guardrails and the constitution of your brand, and that also protects. So we have one demo that we show for a healthcare company in our demo, and you can have a question asked, and if it is not in the database, even if it's as simple as like, how do I use aspirin? If you don't have an answer for that, we don't want an LLM pulling from the wider world that knows about aspirin and answering that question. You want to say, do you want to talk to someone, or I do not have a specific answer for that, because that can be a liability or a negative experience and can cause more frustration if it does go to an agent or anything down the line. So for us, really, it is about your data and your knowledge being the backbone of what the AI deals with in terms of any kind of process or any kind of answer, to ensure that is up to date. And actually some of the new cool things on our roadmap for 2025 is actually helping with versioning, so that all of those things can be automatic. Because another area that I've seen is sometimes you may ask a chatbot or search a knowledge base on the website or ask a live agent, and if they're all using different knowledge sources with different versioning, they may have different updated versions of that answer. So you might get 3 different answers. And things within NICE's platform and with CXone Mpower Expert, our knowledge management system in specific, this can be a thing of the past and they can all be one single source of truth. Robin, I don't know whether you've seen other ways that folks have been helping with this one.
You know, honestly, it's a basic way, but we do see companies having pairing live, humans, like, I mean, pairing humans with what AI is producing, so, and not always, you don't have to do it forever, but if you just start using a model and you're just starting to use AI for a particular use case, there's nothing wrong with having a human reviewing the answers, reviewing what AI is coming up with for the first, depending on what you're doing, we've seen anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, and then, let them off on their own. I think that those timeframes will shorten as time goes on and AI gets better and better, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having some human oversight, at least initially, to make sure that you're not having those kind of flake out things. And then, as you get more confident, you don't need them, but it is certainly a way that we see companies addressing it right now, and it just kind of placates a lot of those people who might be a little nervous to use AI to say, okay, we're going to have, some like oversight from humans while we're rolling this out and making sure that it's working the way we think. But I do think from an automated perspective, you're exactly right. It's the data, it's the knowledge that it's pulling from, and garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. As long as you have a good database and you're curating your database. That's another thing I would say is that when you look at knowledge and content, we do see companies, I think it's about 38-ish, 40-ish% of companies are hiring more people in like the content and knowledge management space just to curate their data better. So if if AI is pulling from something, you need to make sure that your data is updated. And if it's not, then you're going to have, kind of bad answers and wrong answers. You're going to have some of the headlines about, an AI agent making an offer that the company can't fulfill.
Yeah. So I know we had more questions than we had time for, so I do want to say I'm sorry for everyone that we didn't get to your questions, and thank everyone for joining us. Robin, thank you. Excellent as always, fascinating. I always learn from you. As a reminder, this recording is going to be sent to you via email, and it will also be available on our website. If you haven't already, please do answer those survey questions in the post lobby. And for those of you out there who have remaining questions or even questions about the product, please feel free to reach out to us, and the survey questions can help you there, so we know how to get back to you and make sure we answer those questions. And you can also take a moment and download those featured assets, which might be able to help. I hope to see you on February 13th. Thank you, Robin, and thanks everyone for joining. Have a wonderful day.